their relationship with the fans and the enjoyment that they bring to people who come to games. So without further ado, let's have a big round of applause for Jason Smorol of the Syracuse Pets.
That's the only time you're getting applause.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, let's be kind again. Remember, Pete Alonso and Victor still do it. Just want to remind everybody again, ask the GMs. Ryan Brecker is going to be coming around to collect those, so please put your questions down. And we got a little thing here. Paul Bielowitz has done a great job there at silent auction items, and he's also created our logo pins here. So Dan and Jason, if you put one of those on, we'd really appreciate it. You know, this might be a little painful, but it's not the Red Wings. It's Rochester Baseball Historical Society.
I'm here to support baseball,
Okay.
even Rochester.
Okay. And there is the- Not that Jason needs it, but we can provide him with it. All right. You know, I was thinking back, and I first met Dan Mason probably in the late 80s. Pulling tarp, probably filling in, cooking hot dogs and doing everything else that an assistant GM did back in those days. And Jason I met, they were still the Batavia Clippers. This had to be the 90s, I want to say. And he also oversaw the very successful transition to the Batavia Markdown as well. And I could tell early on that we had two young Bill Becks I was dealing with here. Guys who
That's an insult to Bill Beck.
guys who really, they were learning their trade and stuff, but they knew what it was all about. It's about to have fun at the ballpark. And just as Bill Beck always put the fan first, unlike many major league owners, he really, really, truly believed it, and everything he did was geared for enjoyment of the fan. I could see with both these guys, it was that way as well. You know, it's interesting. I look at your resumes and stuff and your career paths. You're both the GMs of your hometown teams. That's pretty cool. You know, so let's start out with Jason. How did you first become involved with professional baseball? Take us from your Syracuse journey.
Well, I never thought that I was going to work in baseball. I graduated from Vernonia State. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was just kind of working after college, and I went back to school, talked to an old professor, and she said, "You like sports? Why don't you go down to a place in Mobile, Alabama called the United States Sports Academy. You get a master's degree in sports management." I said, "Sure, that sounds like a great idea." So I went down there and really enjoyed my time in Mobile and did some different internships with the Mobile Civic Center, and I had an opportunity to do an internship with either the Mobile Bay Bears or the Watertown Indians. Back then they weren't paid internships or anything, so it was closer to live with my parents and work at the Watertown Indians than stay in Mobile, pay rent, and work at the Mobile Bay Bears. So I started off at the Watertown Indians in 1993 with Jack Trotz, and at the end of that summer, I knew that working in minor league baseball is what I wanted to do.
New York Penn League, right?
The Cradle of Champions.
I never recalled that before, but okay. Danny, when did you start and how? How did it come about that you
Well, I grew up here where life is worth living in Webster. It's always great to get back here. And like many kids my age, growing up in Rochester, I was a Navajo gang member. Little did I know that one of my first duties on the job would be to help Jay Stalker run the Navajo gang. Jay was getting up there in years and didn't want to do a whole lot of work anymore, so I got recruited to do the Navajo game. That was one of my first duties, and what a amazing honor it was to carry on or be a part of that amazing tradition of the Navajo game. I started when I was at school at Notre Dame. I went there to get into broadcasting, So I had done a couple of games on the radio, did some sports news on the radio. I wanted to be the next Rich Funky. And this crowd knows who Rich Funky is. Maybe not that kid right there, but I wanted to be Rich Funky. And about the end of my sophomore year, I went back and I listened to my tapes and I said, "You're really, really bad at this." And at that point, I just wanted to graduate, because that's what you want to do, keep your parents happy, and so then got close to senior year and cut my hair and interviewed for a whole bunch of jobs, and we had a wall in my house at school we used to call the Wailing Wall, and that's where we'd hang all our rejection letters from all the jobs that we didn't get, because back then, companies would come to school and do these mass hiring sessions. And I went to a lot of places, and I got a lot of rejection letters. I led the league in rejection letters. I was the king of the Wailing Wall. But as I look back now, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because I would not have been happy selling, and there's nothing wrong with selling insurance or power equipment or all the other jobs I was trying to get. That Black & Decker rejection letter, that was pretty cool. That was a good station there. But it really made me forced to think about what do you want, what do you like, what are your passions? And I just kept coming back to sports. So while my friends, went away at spring break, and I came home and marched in Rochester. Is there a time to be here? Yeah. Yeah, it was just amazing. Got to shovel my dad's driveway, mom and dad's driveway a couple times, but interviewed with the Red Wings and the Amerks. Back then, that was the only two teams in town. And thankfully, I had a very, very strenuous interview with the Red Wings. I think there was 3 questions. And one of them was, who's the shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds? And when I said Barry Larkin, I think that's what did it for me. So, but started with the Wings as an unpaid intern in 1990, and at the time we were going through a lot of transition. And then Dan Lanetta got hired as our general manager, and he said, "Listen, kid, we're gonna give you a chance, and if you, we're gonna hire you, but the day after the season we'll have another talk. We might fire you the day after the season. We'll just see how it goes." And I said, "Okay, no pressure. Let's go. Let's do this." And so it was, thankfully I've been able to, thanks to Naomi, she's let me stick around all these years, and it's been an absolute dream of a job to work for your hometown team, like you said. We're both really fortunate.
36 years and 31st as a general manager. Jason, I think 12 years as a GM with Syracuse and a number of years in the New York Times. Let's talk about that cradle of...
I took a more circular route to my hometown team than Dan here, who's been here forever. I didn't know you're so much older than me. Which makes me feel very youthful right now. So I did my first summer with the Watertown Indians, and then I just kept showing up. So I wasn't getting paid. I just kept showing up, and it was all winter long. It was short season baseball is fantastic, by the way. You start in June, and I remember when I was in Batavia, and I got to know this one, and I would talk to this guy and the Simone family. I'd be like, "You guys are morons for having to play baseball in April and May. June's the way to go." But I just kept showing up, and then that summer or the next year in 1994, they're like, "Well, you're still here, so I guess we'll give you a job." I became the director of special projects, and that year we had Dynamite Lady come, and she went out and she, at the end of the game, she has a nice glittery costume, and she gets herself in a box that has 4 sticks of dynamite on it, and she gets in the box and she blows herself up, and the whole stadium shakes, and it's nothing but smoke. And then when the smoke clears, she's right there with her red, white, blue glittery costume on. And everybody thought it was great. And so my job at the end of the night was to shake everybody's hand as they left the building and thank them for coming. And I went back in and talked to Jack Trotz. I said, "That was amazing." I was like, "Who's going to clean up all that junk out of the field?" He's like, "That is a special project, and you are the director of special projects. You need to go clean it up." So, I went from Watertown, and then Sean Smith came to me. The third year, I became the concession manager. Because 2 days before the season started, the concession manager got hit by a bus and died. And Jack Trotz came to me and said, "You used to work in a restaurant." I said, "Yes, I did." He goes, "Good, you're the concession manager." So I was a concession manager, and Sean Smith came, and he was getting the job at Batavia. He said, "I want you to come be my concession manager." I said, "Well, I'll be your assistant general manager." He says, "Great, you are the assistant general manager in charge of concessions." Came to Batavia for a couple of years, and then that was the transition when Watertown went to Staten Island. The Mets and the Yankees were getting teams in the New York Penn League. The Mets were getting a team. The Yankees had to have a team. And old Sam Nader wouldn't sell Oneonta because Cooperstown is in Oneonta County or Cooperstown County, wherever it is. And he said there should still be baseball in there because of Cooperstown. Sam was great. So they bought the Watertown Indians, and I went to the first season of the Staten Island Yankees. And then that just didn't really vibe. The direction they were going didn't seem very minor leaguey to me, what I was used to. So I got out and took a year off, went back to school to work on my doctorate. And I ended up teaching at SUNY Cortland, and I was placing interns with the Auburn Doubledays, and they had a bad general manager that they fired, and they asked me if I wanted to be the general manager of Auburn and teach at the same time, so I did that. That's got me back into the game. So I was in Auburn for 3 years, and then we started having babies, and my wife said, "You can't stay at the baseball stadium 16 hours a day, you need to go get a real job." So I got a real job. I was out of baseball for 10 years. And you could see all the hubbub going on with the Syracuse Chiefs, and you read the newspapers, and a lot of bad stuff was going on, just wasn't working out. And one day I got a phone call, I got a Facebook friend request from a man named Bill Dutch. I'm up there doing my little work for my next day at Hilti Power Tools, far superior to Black & Decker. My wife comes up, she goes, "There's a guy on the phone for you, his name is Bill Dutch." I said, "Hey, Bill Dutch, how are you?" I met Bill many years prior. He said, "How'd you like to be the general manager of the Syracuse Chiefs?" I said, "Hold on a second." I said, "Honey, can I go be the general manager of the Syracuse Chiefs?" She said, "What's that mean?" I said, "It means you're never going to see me again, and we can't go to camp." She goes, "That's fine, and you can't go to camp." So I said, "Sure." And I interviewed with them, and there's more to the story, but they were dumb enough to ask me to be the general manager of my hometown team. I was dumb enough to say yes. That was late 2013, and here we are still standing.
So tell me about this friendly rivalry here. When did you
It's
guys...
not friendly.
Okay. Tell me about this rivalry, and I want you guys to know, we had the seats farther away before, okay? So...
Well, I saw you move the Mets jersey, that's okay.
Now, when did you guys meet? And let's talk a little bit about, you guys had this great rivalry going, and you really spiced things up, and there are things at stake here, right? Beyond like wins and losses, right?
Well, I could say this when I was got to be in Batavia and became the general manager after the first year Sean left, and they were dumb enough to let me be the general manager. Dan and the Red Wings would let us come and kind of get broken in because they were already playing baseball, so we could, he was kind enough, and we'd meet at the winter meetings, and they'd let our ticket people come and go to the ticket office and come and check out concessions, just kind of get a little dry run before our much shorter, awesome season starting in June. But and that's the nice thing about minor league baseball is we are all brothers and sisters. We're not in competition with the Red Wings or the Scranton Rail Riders or other horrible teams out there. We all share ideas. We all go to the winter meetings together, and we share ideas. And I remember being with Wilbur somewhere. I was up at Las Vegas somewhere years ago, and we probably stayed up later than we should have. I was in Nashville maybe when I was in Batavia. He was in Rochester, and you just get to know everybody, and you just get to become friends, and then you see what a good job they do here in Rochester, and we have a lot of fun with it, and that's what makes it fun, because we can have fun, Dan has fun, this staff has fun, the fans have fun. I make fun of Dan Kirby when he comes to our stadium on a microphone. I'll just I'll call them out. You know, and Kathy too, if I would make you if I got a microphone too, like I have right now, Kathy. And I think that some teams are closer than others. I think that we're probably more the exception than the rule. We're probably a little more over the top than most teams.
So what is the biggest at stake, prank that you pull on each other there? Like that, I mean, he had to wear the Red Wings Fat Boy uniform and be the Fat Boy for a night, right?
Yeah, and I think, Jason nailed it, is like, we like to have fun. We know that people come to our ballparks to have a great time, to forget about whatever issues they got going on at work or at school or at home. They come to Innovative Field and historic NBT ballpark. To just have a great time and forget about everything else that's going on, right? It's a haven, and it's just fun. And I think, when he got hired, we had hung out at the winter meetings, like you said, we're one big brotherhood, sisterhood within minor league baseball, right? If Kodak would never call Fuji and say, hey, I got a great idea how to sell more film. Or Coke would never call Pepsi and say, hey man, I got a great idea on how to sell more soda. But he and I talk all the time, like, you gotta try this, man. You can't believe this. We just sold 1,000 tickets because we did this. You gotta try this. And we exchange ideas all the time. But also, he has a little different personality than most other GMs in our league, right? Would you say?
I'm a moron.
But I'm also a moron. And
A better dressed moron with more hair.
but
I'm much older moron.
yes, much older, much older. But I think that when he started working at the Chiefs and we started hanging out more at the meetings, we just realized that we could have a lot of fun. And as much there's not a natural rivalry in our sport between our fans. So we came up with the genius idea of, let's try to get your city to hate my city as much as we can, and really try to build this rivalry. And I think even our managers say, like, nobody cares about this Golden Fork except you and Smorol. Right?
Dollar cares about
And Dollar definitely cares about it. But it was just a way to add some excitement every time we play the dreaded Syracuse Mets. Thank you, fans. Just to kind of create that rivalry, and obviously it's a friendly rivalry, and we have a lot of fun with it. It creates a lot of great social content. And we can always say that our teams are vying for the tallest, largest trophy in the history of professional sports, the Golden Fork.
Which resides currently in Syracuse, New York right now, in my office.
As far as you know, we knew you were going to be here, so there may be somebody there right now taking it out of your office.
And we want to know, why didn't you bring it here tonight?
It's too big for my truck. It's an 8-foot plywood fork that Rochester made. But it's going to get a facelift this year. John Stewart's going to repaint it. We're going to re-engrave it because that's the fun stuff. We can do the dual of the dishes. We made the shirts for the dual of the dishes, like the 8 reasons why Rochester is better than Syracuse and why Syracuse is better than Rochester, which is obviously true. Tough crowd right here to pull that one off, but I'm just saying, Paul Delaney's coffee, which you're enjoying, made Syracuse. But we can't have. He calls the radio. I mean, when I'm at the stadium, I literally tell all the Rochester fans that come, oh, if you see the world's most horrible person, Dan Mason, and I call him the world's most horrible person all the time. On the radio, on the television in Syracuse, on social media, on the field numerous times. And it's funny because the fans will be like, Dan, why do you say that about Dan? He's the nicest guy in the world. I'm like, well, that's why it's funny, because he is the nicest guy in the world. But they'll call into the radio in Syracuse when I'm on the thing, and they'll be like, oh, this is Jim from Jamesville. This is Larry from Liverpool. And he's like, oh, you're going on the radio? Oh, keep me on the hotline. I'll call in. So we're just dumb. And if we think it's funny, most other people sometimes think it's funny. So we just do it, and it's kind of growing a little bit, right? The fork is becoming a thing. We have a great video. When we actually came, I was at home, I didn't go to the game. Our staff went to a duel of the dishes, or went to a Rochester game, and the fork was on display. And I get this phone call from Clint Cure at the time. He's like, "We got it." I was like, "What do you have?" He's like, "We stole the fork." And our staff was drunk, and they stole the fork, and they hid it under the bus, and the security guards were all over Katie Stewart. And I'm on the other end of the phone. I was like, "Lie, lie, lie! You don't have it. You gotta get it out of there." But they ended up with it. So this is the kind. It's an interesting job. It's a fun job. It's a great job. But if we didn't do this kind of stuff to have fun, it's really what makes maybe this job a little bit different. It builds the camaraderie, and it builds the staffs, to engage with the fun, and it gives us, we can have fun with the players, and they can make fun of us because we're out there doing our shtick with the microphone, and the players, they'll all roll their eyes, I'm sure, and say stuff to him, and they say stuff to me, and it's just a lot of fun.
Dan, what kind of bat boy was he? Did he do a good job for the Wednesday?
He did a phenomenal job as a bat boy. Got to throw the first pitch, and also got to sit in the dunk tank that day. And he did an amazing job while sitting in the dunk tank. He would say, like, "Oh, with an arm like that, you must be from around the court." or boy, you look like a little bit like you're from Henrietta. So you had Gates child eye action. So he was so engaging, and that's what Again, he made it really fun. He's a great sport. Another great promotion that we did together. We had dodgeball night, dodgeball the movie night, and so I called him up. And I said, "Hey, listen, we're having dodgeball night. We're gonna play as the Average Joes, obviously. Everybody seen dodgeball the movie, please? Okay." So we played it. The Red Wings wore jerseys that night as the Average Joes. And then I'm like, "Do you think your guys would wear the Globo Gym jerseys?" And he's like, "I'm not going to ask them. Just put them in the lockers when they get there and they'll wear them." So the dreaded Syracuse Mets. It might have been the dreaded Syracuse Chiefs. So they not as dreaded as the Mets. But they wore the Global Gym jerseys. But the best part of the night was the Syracuse Chiefs front office came to Rochester to play the Red Wings front office in dodgeball after the game. We won, believe it. But the best part about it was he's such a good sport. He said yes, but he didn't realize it was his anniversary. So he had to come play dodgeball in Rochester on his wedding anniversary. So that's what a great sport is. And you're still married.
My wife actually thinks he's the world's most horrible person. Even though I try to blame it on him, she really thinks I'm the world's most horrible person. But she's still dumb enough to hang around with me.
Let's talk about promotions. I mean, it's the lifeblood of minor league baseball. It's been some tremendous ones for years. I mean, Dan in the 10th, breaking that losing streak, out in the bullpen. Zippy Chippy, Bat Dog, Milo, and now Bruce and stuff. What are some of your favorite promotions, either your own or ones you've seen through the years in minor leagues?
Oh, boy, there's been so many of them. I mean, we used to just do such dumb stuff back in the Cradle Champions New York Penn League. We didn't have any money to do anything, but some of the ones that we do now, once the Mets bought us, we kind of stopped doing the silly, stupid stuff. When we first started, we were the Chiefs, we had to do low-cost promotions because we didn't have any money. So we would just do mullet night and ugly sweater night. And I did get a prostate exam while singing the 7th inning stretch, Take Me Out to the Ball Game, to prove to people that it only takes less than 30 seconds to get a prostate exam. I wanted to do it on the field as part of the pregame, but they wouldn't. The board of directors wouldn't let me, so I did it from the press box, hanging out the window. And the doctor said, how old are you? I was like 44. He's like, do you have a family history? I said, no. He goes, you know you don't need to do this. That was probably pretty dumb.
That's pretty dumb. Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
It's
I
all
think-
about helpful awareness. It's sure to care about the people, unlike somebody.
I think you touched on probably some of our better ones, Scott. I think, our plates promotion was a huge success, and really anything that we can do to elicit pride in our community, and we've found that that's a big hit. But you mentioned some other ones that, and there's others, that have been fun. I think anytime we get our whole staff involved too, like the time that we, a lot of our best success stories seem to revolve around losing. But, we shaved our heads, our whole office shaved our heads one year. So I can always say that Chase Utley took a big chunk out of my head. And the tent, and I think Zippy Chippy was one of my favorites, just because it kind of came out of nowhere. We had a team that couldn't seem to beat anybody, and we had a horse from Rochester, you're welcome, that couldn't seem to beat another horse. And so we had Jose Herrera race Zippy Chippy, and Jose won, yeah. So
It really wasn't a fair race, right? It was very short.
Anything involved with this rigging, like the dodgeball game, there might have been some inhumane.
it was a clear win for the Wings, the average Joe.
What about ones that?
I was going to bring one,
Okay, go ahead.
because we can't control the weather, and we can't control the play on the field. The only thing that we can control is the customer service and the cleanliness of the ballpark, the quality of the food, and the promotions. And I think that over the years that the communities have come to expect a certain level of entertainment at a Wings game. They like their wings hot, and now we've set the bar in Syracuse that the same things are there, and it's part of the camaraderie of the minor leagues. I remember my first year, it was 2014, I went to the baseball winter meetings, and I hadn't been in baseball in 10 years. I was following up a legendary family running the Syracuse Chiefs, and I said the meetings were done, and I was sitting down next to Ken Schnocky out on some bench there, and I said, Ken, I was like, long season baseball's for the birds. He's like, what do you do in April and May? And he said, kid, you gotta work just as hard in April and May as you do in June, July, and August. Because you can have the greatest promotion in the world, except for the 4th of July, you're gonna get rained out. And he's like, that's all I got to tell you. When he walked away. So this year, the schedule, someone's on the schedule committee, I'm not. Syracuse has a rotten schedule. Whoa, shocker, Dan Mason. 30 games in April and May. Oh, can we have the Yankees in the prime window? No. Can you have Father's Day? No. Great. So we're front loaded, so we're going all in. We're going to go very heavy in April. We got to try, we have to work our hardest you got to make hay with what you got. So we're going to try a bunch of stuff early in the season and hope it doesn't snow.
So give us a hint. Like, what are some things you're thinking about?
I can say out loud, I haven't signed the contract yet. We're gonna bring Joey Chestnut in, so we have opening day, and then there's the next day. That's great day. Nothing better than Wednesday, April 2nd in Syracuse or Rochester or Buffalo. It's a wonderful time to play baseball. And then hopefully somebody shows up on Thursday. We'll have fireworks on Friday. But that first Saturday, we're gonna bring out Joey Chestnut, and then we have one we can't talk about on that Sunday. So we're going heavy in April.
Andy, what about you? What can you give us? What hints of things coming up, coming promotions?
Well, thank you to my staff for showing up here. I know you all came to see him because you hear my stuff enough at the office, but they would get rather mad at me if I disclosed some of our promotions. We're not at liberty to talk about our promotional schedule quite yet, not like the Syracuse Mets. But we got some great stuff coming up. It's going to be a fun-filled year, and thankfully, our schedule is much, much, much better. We play a lot more games in July, June, July, and August. So we're looking forward to that. So.
Sounds like I
I think so. Bruce is ready, right? Full bore. Bruce the bat dog.
Oh,
Jason, why can't we have a dog like Rochester?
Thanks for nothing, Dan Mason.
Yeah, Bruce is all ready to go. It'll be, I think he's scheduled for 7 different games this year, so it'll be really cool. He worked 1 game last year on the field, and he's been practicing, and he's getting much, much bigger. He's got giant paws, and we're looking forward to having Bruce on the squad for a long time. Long time. He'll be part of the Rochester Red Wings, Bruce the Bat Dog. You might want to get yourself one of those. Don't you have like 5 dogs and a cat or something like that?
Oh yeah, we got plenty of dogs.
my dog just walks around in circles. He's blind. He's got seizures. He's not quite a bat dog.
Let's talk about some of the biggest changes you guys have noticed in your jobs and stuff in your minor league baseball. You guys have been at it a long time. What are some of the big changes you've noticed? Difference maybe between fans 20, 30 years ago and now? Or?
I mean, I don't know if Dan will agree or disagree. I mean, it's everything's cyclical. You know, everything kind of comes back, and not much is really changed. You have to go out there and you know, the things that change are in the game. The things that change are the shot clock, right? That's fantastic. The bases and the more actions and the rules that come down from the top. I think for us, I mean, we're still doing some of the same stuff that Bill Beck did. You know, his bobbleheads still work, fireworks still work. You know, getting up there and making phone calls, inviting people to come, still works. Having a guy from Syracuse play an organ at a baseball stadium works. You're welcome, Rochester, from Syracuse. So I think, you know, if you take a good long look at it, yes, things change, and things are different, and there's different economies of scale, and the prices are different, but essentially what we do, I think, is the same. We're in the people business, we're in the entertainment business, and we have to, you know, people don't have to come to our games, you know, so we have to make it open, inviting, and something that somebody wants to come to.
Is it more challenging, guys? Because there are so many distractions now and so many things you're competing against. You know, all entertainment and with technology now. You can just call things up on your phone or whatever.
I think you bring up a couple of great points, Scott. You know, when I first started with the Wings, this was 1990. I am older than you. We didn't really even do too many promotions, right? We just said, please turn to page 24. If the Milton Ron's ad is stamped with the Red Wings logo, you have won a free coupon for $25 off your next transmission. But really, that's what we did. That was our promotions, and I'll never forget. I went into Dan Linetta's office, and at the time I was a group sales director, and I said, Dan, you know, I think we got to do some like promos, like stuff on the field, more than just open a page, whatever it is, to win a prize. And he said, all right, well, what do you suggest? I said, well, we should do this and this and this. And he said, okay, well, you're the director of promotions now, too. And I was like, you mean just promotions? And he said, no, you get to do group sales and you get to do promotions. And you get paid the same. And, but really, that was sort of a shift in how we operated, right? And we started to, instead of just running ads in the sports page, we would run ads where the movies were. Now this is, again, most people here know what a newspaper is. You know what a newspaper? You don't know what a newspaper is, do you? I'm just kidding, but that has changed drastically. The media coverage, right? We used to have 2 beat writers at every game. One from the Times Union, one from the DNC. There would be a game story in each paper, plus a notes column in each paper, plus you or Bob would be doing columns on us. So that has changed dramatically. I mean, we get virtually no coverage in the Democrat Chronicle anymore. The way that the TV news stations covered us has changed drastically too. I mean, we basically will send the footage from our games to the news stations, and that's the highlights that we send them. That's what gets on the air. We have to create our own content. And that's why it's great having somebody like Jason around, because he's such a contentable guy. We're able to play off each other and create a lot of great social content, be it through, my hatred for salt potatoes or the dreaded Syracuse Mets or what have you. So I think that is one huge change. We have to create our own content. We have to tell our own story because we don't have the media to tell our story anymore. And in some respects, it's great. And in some respects, it's not as great. I would love to have as much media coverage as we used to have, but those days are over. And fans have grown accustomed to different ways to get their information about the dreaded Syracuse Mets or the Wings. And that's just one of those changes. And I think our business in general has become a lot more sophisticated. Works for a corporation now. He's a DBH man now. So he's got a lot more, things that you have to, get the Penske file out. And,
Teach a few things,
yeah.
Dan.
But,
How to be a corporate guy.
yeah. But we, but even us, at the Wings, we are a much more sophisticated business than we've ever been before in embracing technology and so many of the other things that are available to us now.
You mentioned about him being a corporate guy. Jason, you have an interesting perspective. You come back to Syracuse, they're community ownership. Then they're purchased by a major league team, the New York Mets. And now they have since been just recently, not finalized yet, I guess, but being sold to baseball, Diamond Baseball Holdings,
yes.
that has 41 minor league clubs now. So talk about that. You've gone through 3 different types of ownership.
Yeah, the Syracuse Chiefs, are probably the team that shouldn't still exist. It was in bad shape, and the community ownership in Syracuse was different than the community ownership here in Rochester, and it was touch and go there, for a little bit. And through work of that board of directors and the people that we kept it going, to put ourselves in a position to be purchased by the Mets, which in essence saved baseball in Syracuse. And just the community ownership model in Syracuse wasn't going to work to have the capital to keep up, with the changing of the game. And the Mets bought us. They weren't dumb enough to fire me. And then 7 years of the Mets, and now with the landscape of baseball, the way the PDL is, and things are different for the players now. I think the big league teams say there's no need for us to own the teams anymore. We were one of the last teams that was still owned by a major league team, and now we're owned by Diamond Baseball Holdings. It's a new world out there. Diamond Baseball has been great, to work with so far. So we're kind of unplugging. I say this all the time. Unplugging from one mothership and plugging into a new one. And the interesting thing about this is now we're on calls with 41 other teams. So it's like a little mini promotion seminar, a little mini baseball winter meetings, once every other week, because there's 41. I don't have to talk to this guy anymore. I got 41 other people women that I can bounce ideas off of. Maybe I can start getting some good ones. I've been stealing Rochester ideas for years now. You'll notice my Trapper hat out there in the front that we now take credit for opening day giveaways, which is clearly stolen from the Rochester Red Wings. But it has been an interesting, my journey in baseball has been a little bit different from private owners in Watertown and community ownership in Batavia to private owners, city-owned in Auburn, to community-owned in Syracuse, to now private ownership. So at the end of the day, all the ownerships have the same goal. In my experience, has been about the community, and it's been about the team, and everything that's good that comes with having, whether it's a single A, double A, triple A, team in Rochester or in Syracuse. We go to all these big cities. Rochester and Syracuse go to Louisville. We go to Charlotte, and we go to Indianapolis, and Rochester and Syracuse is is across our chest. And, the Buffalo Bisons get more people than the Buffalo Bills, and the Indianapolis Indians get more people than the Indianapolis Colts. The Rochester Red Wings outdraw St. John Bishop. Well, we outdraw the men's basketball team in Syracuse, but hopefully they're not very good, so that helps us. So, these teams matter in these communities, and I know I'm straying off of the thing, but the question, but the thing that I've noticed with Diamond Baseball Holdings is they're very about the community. They're letting the GMs and the teams all stay intact, and they say your Syracuse is different than Norfolk, and Syracuse is different than Worcester, and you do you. They haven't seen my act yet, so we'll see how long that lasts. But that seems to be the direction they're going.
But I will say everybody's jealous of my situation that I get to work for Naomi Silver. And that people around baseball tell me all the time. It's different. I'm really, really lucky. And, to work for a family business that she runs. And to deal with all the DBH suits like you do.
All right, let's get to the fans' questions here. Biggest influence on your baseball career? Biggest influence on your baseball career? Now, Tom Chopin.
No, I would say Naomi, clearly, and I would say Joe Altobelli. I would be remiss if I didn't mention both of those two every time I talk about my mentors. And I would say Gary Larder has been a great mentor of mine, and Elliot Kerwin as well. But, on a day-to-day basis, Naomi is like a sister to me. A much younger, smarter sister than me. And Alto was, we were talking over here about storytellers, and Alto was by far the greatest storyteller I've ever been around. And he was just one of the smartest people I've ever been around. And he just knew how, the way I compare it, again, this will prove how old I am. He was like E.F. Hutton. When Alto speaks, people listen, right? And I was always amazed. I remember him as a kid, right? From going to games and seeing, he was like this legendary manager, and then he won the World Series, and then he walked into our office when he got hired as the GM. And I'll never forget sitting in there, Wilbur was there. We were sitting in the back conference room, and he walked in, and he said, "All right, fellas, I should fire you all right now." We were all like, "Holy cow, we didn't do anything yet. This guy hasn't even met us. If you want to work for me, show up tomorrow, because I want my guys to be my guys. You guys, if you feel like coming to work tomorrow, you'll be one of my guys." And then he walked out, put his cigarette out, and he walked out the door. And but he was just an amazing. He knew how to manage people, and he was just I went through school for many years, and I learned so much from him in a very short amount of time, just about how to manage people. And I think that was his forte. He used to say all the time, "I'm not a baseball guy. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher at heart." Taught me a lot, and obviously Naomi has taught me. She's the same way. She knows how to manage people. She knows how to get the most out of people, and her care for this community and this team and our fans. She has a clear vision for this team, and my role is just to carry out her vision, right? And you talked about being fan first, and we're both fan first guys, but I learned from her.
I think that Richard, give it up, right? Give it up. The quote earlier about, if you think you know everything, you don't know anything, because the more you think you know, the more you need to learn. So there's so many names as Dan was droning on over there. I was thinking of all the names of all the the people that I've come across, that this guy here has been a great mentor to me, some of the, when I first started, crazy Jack Trotz was this old school minor league hustler guy. He was in St. Pete, he was in Albany Colony, he ended up there. He's an infamous old school name, but he had me sit out at that gate and shake everybody's hand and thank him for coming, and I do that to this day. So the things that Jack Trotz taught me, the things that Jeff Dumas taught me, about, watching the bottom line. Watch is as important about what you're spending as about how much you're making, all the stops along the way, the people, the Bob Olivers in Batavia, the Tom Gainey's in Auburn, and the Don Waffles in Syracuse, and all the general managers, the men and women that we've been in baseball all these years, and a lot of these managers that we talked about. The baseball, AAA bad baseball is like the worst job for a manager, and because the guys are either on their way down and they're sulky and miserable, or they're on their way up and they're blocked. I play shortstop for the Yankees. Who's behind Derek Jeter? That guy's not going anywhere. He's sour. So AAA manager's tough. A AAA manager is more about managing the people, the players, the personalities, than it is as much about the X's and O's. So we've had a lot of great conversations with the managers, over the years, about managing, people and working with people. So a lot of those managers, like the great Floyd Rayford, and Tony DeFrancisco and Randy Knorr and Dennis Holmberg, that have been great people to bounce ideas with off of over the years and talk to.
Highlight or best moment as a GM. Can you pick one?
No.
Can't pick one.
Can't pick one. For me, closing down Silver Stadium was one of the highlights of my life. I mean, my wife's not here, but don't repeat that. But really, with Wilbur and the rest of the staff that we had, and we had a much smaller staff back then, and we basically, we all just lived there back in those days. There was about 6 or 8 of us. Right? Okay, here we go. So it was such an awesome responsibility to close down a house of memories for 68 years. People were going to Silver Stadium.
So people were going to Silver for 68 years, and that's a lot of memories.
A lot of memories for people to have from our community, and it was the most awesome responsibility to say goodbye to that amazing place, right? And then of course, all of us, we work long enough in this game, we get to hopefully open up a new ballpark. And opening up what was then called Frontier Field was also just it was amazing responsibility. Right? We knew that this place was going to be such a game changer for our community, and to have that responsibility to open it up and make sure it was everything that everybody had hoped for years and years and years. The anticipation was unbelievable. So those 2 nights are probably 2 of my favorite nights working for the Wings.
Yeah, that's a tough question to ask or answer because there's been so many games, and I think most recently the memories of the Chiefs and the Mets are what really stand out to me, because back in the day when I was in the Cradle of Champions, I was just young and I was just making it up, and it wasn't as special to me as it is when you're a little older. Not a little, some people in here, but 2 things come to mind. We had a Father's Day, and we just invited people out to play catch in the field, and we had the guy from Field of Dreams, Dwyer Brown, out there playing catch, and we probably had about 1,000 people out in the outfield playing catch. And I was out there with my daughters playing catch and just kind of looked around. Dwyer Brown's out there playing that ratty team, 06 or something like that. And you just look around and you're like, this is what it's all about. We got 1,000 people out there playing catch on a Sunday. I'm playing catch with my little girls. It was my first catch with my little Mary Sparkles. I had already had a catch with my other daughter, Julia. So that memory is very special. And there was a year that we nailed Star Wars night. You know, so we've been doing Star Wars night and not knowing what we were doing and you know, whatever. It was just a throwaway kind of a thing. We tried it on May 4th. Horrible time to do Star Wars night because it was cold and miserable in Syracuse on May 4th. And we put Danny Tripodi in charge of it. Danny was the nerd of 1,000 hobbies. All the best people that work at the Syracuse Mets hate baseball. Danny was one of them. Our groundskeeper hates baseball. Anthony upstairs hates baseball. And they just work. The guys that like baseball are like watching the baseball game. So Danny was our great social media person at the time. He's like, I got this. I'm all Star Wars. He was the nerd of 1,000 hobbies. And he choreographed the music, and we had the 501st Battalion, and we had the jerseys, and we promoted the heck out of it, and the game was packed out, and as the music was going, and all the fireworks were hitting in you know, as we choreographed the music. It was all just dumb luck, and you just saw the place was packed, and I was like, you know what? When it works, it just feels like magic. You know, that was a great day.
Now, yes, you are a fashion plate.
Yes, I am.
And so we would be remiss, because we've been asked here by your adoring crowd, that you need to stand up and you need to like show us the
You want me to take my
inside,
clothes off, don't you?
the inside
No,
of that
Jason, they didn't
photo.
want you to take your clothes off. Unlike, what do you got on the inside there, Dan? Oh, surprise, it doesn't say Notre Dame. Ours says Syracuse Mets. We have a nice little thing. This is well before that Syracuse University was doing. Let's say that again. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go Mets. All right. We've got the spider bats with the New York Mets on there.
My
as well.
look, I'm sweater vest guy. This is my dress up. I have one coat. The rest of the time is jeans and sweater vest. You're cool.
Any thoughts on the recent baseball rule changes such as pitch clocks and auto strike zone?
Love it.
Love it even more than he does.
Yes, it's great. I think it keeps the fans engaged, keeps the game moving. The game is played. You know, sometimes you need things like this to get the game played the way it was meant to be played. And so I think everybody that works in baseball, I'm speaking for my staff now, I know they really miss those 3.5-hour games. But it makes a big difference. So we love the new rules.
Ditto. No, that's great. And I think with the ABS going up on the video board, the fans love it. And the fans love stolen crazy. They love stolen bases, and they love things moving along. So they're really good ideas, I think.
How can fans better support the players?
I mean, if you want to pay them, sure, that. Gift cards are big with the players. Dunkin', Starbucks, whatever. I think just treating them like people instead of guys with uniforms on. You know, they're human beings. They go through the same ups and downs that everybody in this room goes through, and I think there's a misperception that our players have this super glamorous life. There's nothing glamorous about getting on a bus at midnight and riding that bus till 6 o'clock in the morning or worse. And it's hard. Their jobs are really hard. It's hard to hit a baseball. It's hard to throw strikes. And there's so many players that make it look easy, but there's a lot of guys that it's difficult. And baseball is the most mental game in the world. You know, other than being a weather person, where can you be successful 3 out of 10 times and be considered one of the best at what you do? Right? If you hit 300, you're the best at what you do. What else in life can you be successful 3 out of 10 times and people think you're doing a good job? Pretty much nothing. And so it's a really negative game. And I think when our players get encouraged by the fans and they get treated just like normal people, they dig it. And we, you know, I think we're both blessed to have had some really great players, but really cool people, really great human beings that have played for our teams over the years. And they're fun to be around. And but like I said, they need pick-me-ups all the time. You know, you make an error, it blows the game. If they hear it from our fans, like, hey, don't worry about that. You know, you've been amazing this year. Just stuff like that and encouraging the guys to keep plugging along, I think goes a long way.
And I think just piggybacking off of that is just showing up. You know, they know who's at the game. They know Dan Kirby. There's 4 Dan Kirbys in Syracuse. They know those guys. You know, so they know the faces. You know, they know who shows up, and they know who busts on them, and they know who really cheers for them. You know, because like Dan said, they're here to try to get to the next level. So I think just showing up, you know, and just being a real fan. Some real fans, the one guy that's just sit behind our dugout and just wear our manager out. And I remember it was Randy Knorr, and this guy's wearing him out because we pitched to Nick Swisher, and you know, it was late in the game. He's up on a rehab, and he pitches to Nick Swisher, and Nick Swisher hits a home run, beats us, whatever. The guy's wearing him out, and goes back. You know, afterwards, I see Randy after the game, and he's like, you think that guy doesn't know what I'm supposed to do? Because I've been managing for 27 years. Because he's up here to get swings. I got to pitch to Nick Swisher. That guy doesn't think I know what to do. So the managers, they're in a tough spot sometimes. So they hear it. These are small ballparks. You can hear suspect in Syracuse. You can hear what's going on. So I say show up and like Dan says, support the guys, because you know they're good guys and their families are here. Oh, we had a poor pitcher. He was having a bad day last year, and his mother was at the pizza stand. And the fans were, I mean, we left him in to get, we needed to eat some innings, and he was eating some innings for us. He was just getting shown. And his poor mother was up at the pizza stand, and these guys are just tearing the pitcher apart. His poor mother's just sitting there, having to listen to these two guys say such horrible things about her son. And I just felt so horrible for him. Because fans can be bad sometimes, too.
Well, we really want to thank both of you guys for taking the time to come here. Let's give them a big round of applause.
I don't get to come to Rochester much. I don't want to. But you know, I do have to say, because Naomi's here, I've been doing that. I'm going into my 12th year in Syracuse. I remember that first year. You know, it was a tough year. It was early, it was April, and Naomi was kind enough to drive to Syracuse and come on in and check us out on a Sunday afternoon game and just lend her support to us. So as much as I hate the Rochester Red Wings and the entire community of Rochester, I want to make sure we're on the table there. Syracuse is way better. I have to thank Naomi, Dan, and Wilbur, Maury, and the Red Wing staff, the dreaded social media department of the Rochester Red Wings, because they've been nothing but wonderful to us in Syracuse. So thank you all for having me.
These guys go. We have some gifts here. And you're both honorary lifetime members of the Rochester Baseball Association. Thank you, Scott. So, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Syracuse comes to beat Rochester. Rochester, we make
You make
history.
history, but just want to thank you guys for that. And also, we, in appreciation of you guys spending some time with us, we've made donations to two of your charities. In Dan's case, the Rochester Community Foundation, Community Foundation, and Jason, Syracuse Challenger Baseball, which is a huge, huge thing in Rochester as well. It's one of the greatest things you can do involved with. So thank you so much. Thanks, guys.